People always say, you changed, like it's an accusation. Like becoming someone different is something you owe an apology for. But nobody ever stops to ask what made you change. Nobody asks what you went through quietly, what you carried alone, what slowly chipped away at the version of you that used to be so open, so trusting, so willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. It wasn't random. It wasn't overnight. And it definitely wasn't just you. Because here's what actually happened. The people around you changed too. The friendships shifted. The energy moved. The people who swore they'd be there started showing up differently or stopped showing up at all. And somewhere in trying to adjust to all of that, you changed with it. Not because you wanted to, because you had to. You used to be the one who texted first every single time. Not because it was your job, but because you genuinely wanted to stay connected. You cared about maintaining things. You valued the relationship enough to keep reaching out even when the effort wasn't coming back. And for a while, you told yourself that's just what love looks like. Showing up even when it's not convenient. Giving even when you're not being given to. But eventually you stopped texting first. Not out of pride, not out of some game you were playing. You stopped because you finally needed to know if anyone would reach out if you didn't. And the silence answered everything. That's not you changing for the worse. That's you learning. And maybe you did pull back. Maybe you did build walls. Maybe you did stop being as available as you once were. But can anyone really blame you? Because when you gave freely, it was taken for granted. When you were open, it was used against you. When you showed vulnerability, it made people comfortable enough to be careless with you. So you learned. You adapted. You protected the parts of yourself that kept getting bruised. That's not a flaw. That's survival. The people who say you changed are usually the ones who benefited most from the version of you that didn't know your own worth yet. The version that said yes when you meant no. The version that stayed quiet to keep the peace. The version that made yourself smaller so other people could feel bigger. Of course, they missed that version. It was convenient for them. But here's what nobody wants to acknowledge. It's not just you who changed. The friend who used to call every week, who you could count on without question, somewhere along the way they stopped making time. The person who knew your deepest fears and biggest dreams, they got comfortable enough to stop asking. The relationship that once felt warm and intentional slowly became something you had to schedule around their moods, their availability, their capacity. People get comfortable, people stop choosing you the way they did in the beginning, and they don't even realize they're doing it. And when you finally respond to that, when you finally adjust your energy to match what's actually being given, suddenly you're the one who changed. That's not fair. And deep down, you already know that. Because change doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in response. You became quieter because certain voices made you feel like too much. You became more selective because giving everyone access left you empty. You became harder to reach because being reachable didn't keep you safe. Every shift in you has a reason behind it. Every wall has a wound underneath it. You didn't wake up one day and decide to become someone different. Life kept happening. People kept showing you who they were. And you kept paying attention, even when it hurt to admit what you were seeing. And maybe that's the thing no one ever says out loud. Growth isn't always soft. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like you finally get over something you should have stopped a long time ago. And the people who don't understand your evolution are usually the ones who weren't part of the hard chapters. They saw the before and the after without witnessing the in-between. They didn't see you fall apart quietly. They didn't see you hold yourself together when nothing felt stable. They didn't see you grieve connections that were still technically alive. They didn't see the version of you that was disappearing long before anyone noticed. They just saw you come out different on the other side and decided it must be your fault. So when someone says you changed, let them be right. Because you did. You stopped being the person who could be overlooked without consequence. You stopped being the person who accepted half of what you deserved and called it enough. You stopped shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never really built for you. And that kind of change, the kind that comes from finally seeing your own worth, that's not something you apologize for. It's not just you who changed. The world around you changed too. The people changed. The dynamic changed. The energy changed. You just had the awareness to change with it, and the courage to stop pretending everything was still fine when it wasn't. You're not who you used to be. And that's okay. That version served a purpose. But so does this one. This version knows better. And knowing better is never something to be ashamed of.